You said something?
No, it's okay.
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 Good, good. Alright, let me try to see if this... Alright, looks like... Yeah, it might look like I needed to import it. Alright, so now that's imported, let's see if we can try to see it. Yeah. So it's saying that doesn't exist, but this does. Oh wow. Really, really interesting. I want to take a look at this file. But I'm definitely trying to debug why you had to import even though you don't see it, there's a font family here. Right. So now what I want to do now is I want to try to give this some padding. So basically on my layout, right, this is where the first bar goes, item 0. So I want to insert that. So I say item, and then I say I want to give it a set of spacing. And now we're going to be using spacing a lot, so I want to try to set up another CSS. Spacing. Alright, so here's going to do my spacing values. Spacing underscore, right? And now I'm gonna go ahead and grab that like so. So I have access to these variables. So now I want to give this some sort of spacing, and I'll do the spacing property is going to be padding. So the padding, as you're going to see, is going to move everything inwards according to the spacing values. So if I give one spacing value, it's going to move it by, what you going to say? It's going to move it by 8 pixels, because this is one rem is actually 16 pixels, right? I don't want to get into that, but it's going to move everything inward, as you're going to see. Right, so now there's that spacing I was talking about, right? And now to move even over further, let's say spacing 5. Spacing 5. Okay, I'm going to say spacing 7 just to be good. Okay, good. Right, so there's that. So that's completed. So now, what I want to do is, as you build out your application, right? In school they teach you, they in school they teach you, keep everything small. So that's what we're gonna try to do here. So instead of all this going in the default layout, right? What I want, even this was supposed to be a component, but just to, get you to move along here. But what I would do is I'm going to take this, I'm going to make its own component, right? So I'm going to cd dot dot, I'm going to cd dot dot. So now I'm at the application root. So what I want to do now, I want to make a folder called share. So basically this is going to be shared, because in web application design, there's two types of component. This is your presentational, and this is your container. So something like this would be your container component, but then the page, the whole application that it is, right, is going to be your presentational component. So all my container components, I'm gonna keep them in share just for simplicity. You know, Angular, what they want you to do is that when you load your modules, they load components. So without you'll see it later, but what that means is that you have to know which component's going to get used by which module. But you know that can get very confusing. That can get very confusing, and there might be issues that arise. So just for simplicity, so I can find a better way to even open up the internals of the Angular system, we keep everything in share. You see components, and now we want to go ahead and generate a component. ABC, and then we're going to call it. We're going to give it a name here. I'm going to call it nav option 0. Because I'm going to call it nav option 0 because this looks like what's kind of nav option. And then this looks like the other set of nav options right here. So I'm going to let that generate. And before I do that, I'll make sure I have my shared module. And I have to let me know how to do it. So go ahead and move this over. Let's take my share module. Share. And then, by default, Angular just imports it into the share module, and we should need to export it. So that's another thing that I want to try to work on too, so that I will know to import and export components. Right, so this is my share module. Then I'm going to go ahead and make sure I export it as well. So I'm going to have that CPNT. Nav options. And then I'll put my exports. Now what I need to do in my default module, I need to import the shared module. Layout, and then I'm going to import the shared module, so that's where my container component lives. I'm going to go ahead and import it with my PS6 statement, so the applications can run. Update, yep. And now in my layout component, I'm going to go ahead, that's what we will add here. Now, option 0. Yeah, that makes sense. Alright, so we'll say anything just like that. Right, so now this works. So now I want to go ahead and format this. So basically, these two are in pod 0, item 0, so I want to make this display flex. Display flex. Oh, yep, not there. there, right? So now there's that, but I want to make this look pretty, so I want to say justify content. No, I want to say align items. Right, so now it's going to be a line item, and then as you can see there's a little bit of a gap. So what I kind of like to do is that basically anytime I'm dealing with margin, this item here is going to push away from this instead of the other way, because if this gets removed, then this is going to have a margin. So I want to drop the margin right here. So there's many ways to do it, but you know, I'll just try it. So what I can do is that, you know, to make my HTML more simpler, I may not right there. Margin is going to be 0. So 0 is going to represent the top. 0 is going to represent the left. 0 is going to represent the bottom. And then I'll say spacing 7. Yep. So now after that, so now the margin is 7, right? So with that, let's try to get this going here, and let's see that out. So now I'll do 0, right? So I'm going to say my nav item. This does, right? And then nav items are going to be customer service. Okay, so I need to set to equal type. Because using Angular, what we want to do is we want to target different types. You know, this would be the already string, but by default there's an element. Sometimes, you know, you really don't want to use it because your value may have something that's not the appropriate type, so you should leave it out. But you see this is the one that we want to think about. Take profile. I say open and account, and then I'll grab back. So basically there's that, and then for my default layout, right, when I go ahead grab again, and I definitely don't want to go ahead and keep grabbing again. So next time we're going to use a library. Come help us out. We're going to install a package. Come help us out here. Okay, so go ahead and import that, and then I should just try to add all the imports. All right, so there's that. So the color could be white. Yes, that's good. Right, but then all this has to go. This will have to start again from the beginning. Right, and now what I want to say here is okay. So let's say my diff. So basically, I'll say so ng4. We're gonna say ng4 equals let item of nav items. Alright, so these are going to be my value. So I'll grab, okay, looks like it. Okay, so now what I want to do is I'll provide p tag. There's probably in HTML5 there's probably a lot more tags out there. But to use the profit tag for navigation, but I think for here, for all intents and purposes, we're just going to use the P tag. Right? So let's say item. Right? So now it kind of did it horizontally. I want it vertical. So here, right, what I'll go ahead and say, I'll say display flex. And then I wonder if it's C. Yep, that's why, of course. See default layout. I gotta update the class prefix. Right, so there's that. That obviously now I want some spacing. So let's kind of further. So basically, what I want is that there should be this line between each, and then on the fifth one, I shouldn't see anything. So I'm gonna say span. I'm gonna call this a span, and then that'll just be that line right there. Right, and it's kind of not doing what I want it to do. Let's see if I can make this inline. Alright, good. So there's that. Right, but then when I get to the last, I don't want to see that. Right, so see if I could put a little space in. If I don't have to use any margin for this. If not, that's okay. Okay, it looks like I have to. Alright, that's fine. So for this span tag, what I will do, I'm going to give it a class. But, I think since it's a span right now, I could just grab the HTML for it. So I'll say span, which is the tag for it. So I say padding is 0 and spacing 5. And I may have to import this. Alright, so default. Okay, looks like it's copied over already. Alright, so that looks better, right? So that's my ng4. So let's make it spacing 3. I think it looks like spacing 3 on the website. Spacing 3. Now, what I could do, I could do it in the CSS, basically the last child, right? I'll show you both ways just to end it, just so that we can end, right? So I could do the last child. So basically, to get rid of that final slash, right? I could say last child, right? So I could say the display is none. Okay, I said last of type. This is a lone selector. Alright, let's see. Okay, I may have gotten that wrong. Huh. May be getting it wrong. Alright, I'll figure out the appropriate CSS later. But if I wanted to do this through Angular, what I'll do is basically say ngIf. I use my ngIf statement, right? And then I'll say let I equal index, right? So ngIf I equals is not equal to nav items length -1. Oh, -1. All right. And now that expression is going to evaluate to decide whether that last, right, with that last divider is going to show up. Right, so there's that. All right. So there is that. So let's go ahead and continue. Let's try to finish up with this input. So basically that's how the application's looking so far. But then definitely is going to take further styling to get that going. Right. So then that's my component. So now, right, instead of all this, so this going into here and make it even bigger, I have everything wrapped into that component. Right. So we want to try to keep our components small. Right. So that's going to be that. And now I believe pod 0 item 1, right, that's going to represent our input. That's where input's going to go. So let's try to go ahead and set it up. I think we're going to need div because there's going to be needed a search icon. Right, so we're going to make our input. And then we're going to have another div that contains a search icon. Right, and then we'll deal with that search icon in a bit. So let's see how that looks. So now once again, this container, this navbar, right, needs to be flexing it. I think for all intents and purposes, I'm gonna make this the navbar. I'm gonna make this section the navbar. So say nav. So pod 0 is gonna be my nav. And I'm gonna say display is flex. So anytime you want to make something horizontal, you always use display flex. You should use display flex for all your layouts because later you're going to see that it helps adjust the layouts, right? So now I want to go ahead and say align item center, right? Now I want to go ahead and say justify content is space between. So now what it should do, it should go, so now this should, yes, spread to the width, right? And now it kind of looks like my nav doesn't have any padding to it. It's kind of interesting. Should be here. My padding should be here though. Good. Right, so there's that. And then basically it says this input should be longer. But let's go ahead and finish styling that out. So I'm in item 1. So there's item 1. Let's give this a placeholder. And then it says search or get a quote. All right, so that'll be search or get a quote. Right? But that looks very, very small. Right? So let's go ahead and do something about it. So I say my class. So yeah, class prefix is going to be pod 0 input 0. Right, I'm gonna increase the font size. I'm gonna probably give it WML H2. Right, and then as you work with the UX designer, they might have additional fonts. They might have something for the input. Right, but that looks huge. Right, so let's just say H4. Okay, that kind of looks better. Right, so we can see there's a little padding going on in here. Right, so I'll say padding is going to be spacing 3. Hold on. All right, so it's going to be spacing 3. All right, so that kind of looks a bit better. Right, that length it's a bit longer. So, but I'll definitely do with the border radius because sometimes with these inputs, they might not like to listen to how you want how to style them. So radius, and then let's just use spacing for now. So I'll just say spacing 2. Let's see how that looks. Okay, so you can't really see anything, so maybe spacing 3 should do the trick. Alright, so there's a radius. I don't know if you can see it, but there's a radius here. Right, and then let's say H5. Say H5. Okay, it shouldn't be too large, right? and I want to, hopefully I can increase the length. So it looks like there's a certain length here. So I say the width is px. So in your CSS, you never want to use px. You want to use your rounds for accessibility. All right, so that looks really small. I'm gonna say 600. All right, good. So that's gonna be the input. But even so, I think what I want to do, I want to make this. I want the input to stretch the div. Pod 0. Item 4. Item 4. And then so I'm gonna make that display flex. And flex, and I'll put my width here. And then what I'm gonna do is that I'm going to make this stretch, right? So flex, I'll want this to be 0, 0, and then 90% of the width here, right? So let's see how that looks. All right, so there's that. So it's going to be 1, and then it kind of looks like what's happening, like this is going to belong, right? So what needs to happen is this needs to also have a border radius. And then with my div, pass prefix pod 0, item 5. With this div here, I'm also give it a border radius, and I want to give it a background color of light green, so that we may be able to see the icon. I want to say long green, and then I want to give it a flex of 10 so it could complete itself. So 90 plus 10 is 100%, and then you could go over 100% with a CSS flex if you like. Right, so there's going to be that. So there's going to be my icon, right? But now this little, I don't want it like that, right? We kind of want it separate. So what you got to go ahead and do is we're going to have to say, I believe 0, spacing 3, and then 0, because border radius also does this as well, right? So you kind of see that. And now for this border radius, right, we're going to go ahead and say, we're going to just put the zeros between each other. All right, good. So that kind of looks better in a way. Not the best, but actually you can see even here, they have a little bit of a gap. So there's that. And then this is more of a button, not a div. So let me make that a button. So ultimately, you want to try to use the appropriate CSS when you can. And then let me go get the search icon. So what we're going to do, we're going to grab font awesome. And I want to now we're going to go on the font awesome page, right? So that's going to be websites. So I'm looking for npm. All right, let's see. Get started. So I'm going to say font awesome free. Okay, and this is for the I'm going to say yarn add. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to say here yarn add. So now we're going to get our fonts. So now it's going to download all of our fonts. So this is what I use for my fonts. Then also you could download them separately, but we're going to use the library here for the time being. So while that sets itself up, let's go ahead and look for this search icon. So let's say icons, search. Oh, I think I snapped it. Alright, so that's going to be magnifying glass, looks like. So just regular HTML. Right, this is something you want to copy. Right, so there's going to be that. So that's my search icon. So what I kind of want to do now is